Hey, it's me, Vicky Marie. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. So we're here again talking about nullification. From her bed, this woman snatched from her bed in the early hours of the morning. It's been exactly 3 weeks. Of course, you know, good old deputy dog, the sheriff, Sheriff Nanos, the clown sheriff who is dealing, unfortunately, with this case. He actually said at some point it was Saturday night that the police were contacted. So this case is just a mess from day one, as far as this sheriff is concerned. He should go. I can't believe people aren't queuing up outside the sheriff's office, clamoring for his resignation. I can't believe the FBI aren't putting a hit on him or something. Get rid of him. Get rid of him. This guy, he's a bad un. He's wrong. He's all wrong. And right from day one, the way he's dealt with this case, and he still insists on dealing with it himself. He won't pass it over to the FBI. And he just keeps making cock up after cock up. And who suffers from it? Nancy Guthrie and the Guthrie family. They've all suffered from it, of his incompetence. I'm so angry with him. And it's getting worse because he just doesn't even, he has no humor. Can't even say, oh, we made mistakes in the beginning, or clarify timelines, or clarify when were the family declared not suspect. So this poor guy as well, Tommaso and Annie, so they came under a lot of suspicion, didn't they? I think it's probably because Tommaso is foreign as well, because he's Italian. You get this, it's always the foreigner, but now the thing is as well, though, because they were the last people to see Nancy alive, weren't they? Supposedly on the Saturday night. Well, as far as Sheriff bloody Deputy Dog says, the police were called on the Saturday night, but he must have just got the wrong day there. But he needs to come out and clarify that. He needs to come out and say, oh, I got the wrong day when I said it happened. We got called on the Saturday night. I should have said the Sunday night, but he hasn't actually come out and clarified that. Anyway, Nancy went to, this is one of her daughters, Annie, and her husband, Tommaso, who live up the road from Nancy. Nancy went there for dinner, for a games night. Apparently, Tommaso brought her home safe and sound on Saturday night. She went in an Uber to the house. There was a lot of consternation. Why did she take an Uber to the house when it's only up the road? But then he brought her home. Why did he not pick her up in the first place? All these kind of things. And the thing is, the sheriff made all that worse by initially saying everybody was a suspect. Then literally a day later or 2 days later, he said that all the family and spouses had been cleared. Unfortunately, then we believe it says, we don't believe the word it says. So it's very, that's why he needs to come off it, because whatever Sheriff Nanos says, we think, but is it though? Really? And we can't believe what he says. So although now he's cleared Tommaso, well, he said he's cleared the siblings and their spouses, you don't believe him. And I think the problem for Tommaso is that it does make more sense if Tommaso, people want to make some sense of it. They can't make sense of why some random people would just break into an 84-year-old woman's house in the middle of the night and not only that, she'll cook during a break-in. Why do they take her? Normally burglars, if they do, experience that situation, and tragedies can result, but they don't take the person with them. They leave them there because they've got no connection to them. They just can't wait to get out of there as quick as possible. These people were in this house for 47 minutes. What were they doing for 47 minutes? You know, these are all the things that make everything so mysterious in this case. And of course, we've got the CCTV of the perpetrator, but you know, that hasn't led to anything. It's led to 2 false SWAT raids. That hasn't led to any charges. And now, Sheriff Nanos, he did an interview yesterday, and he said they have no suspects. They have no named suspects. So this is another load of balderdash, isn't it? Because the FBI were going around gunshot names, photos, asking about people, and now Nano says, no, we've got no named suspects. He's a joke, this guy. He's a complete joke. And now it turns out as well, according to his interview, the DNA that everybody was putting their faith in, because there was DNA recovered at the scene, which didn't ping in the CODIS database. So whoever that DNA was from has no criminal record that's in CODIS. So it was supposedly being done then and tested then for genealogy, sent to the genealogy labs. No, Nanos say that DNA, it might not even be useful because it's mixed DNA or some crap like that is coming out with. Because, of course, he sent it to the wrong lab. He sent it to the lab he wanted to use because he wanted to cut the FBI out of everything. So instead of sending it to the FBI lab, and he gave a load of doublespeak when he was interviewed as to why he did that. Oh, you know, we sent it to that lab because bloody blah. He sent it to his lab because he wanted to cut the FBI out of everything. And he's totally cocked up by doing that, because you couldn't send the D out saying that lab isn't lab, the private lab, isn't it? Florida, apparently. But it's a brilliant, it's not any lab. It cannot be better than the FBI lab in Quantico. So, yeah, he's buggered that up as well. He is buggered everything up from start to finish. Anyway, in this video, what we're going to talk about is the timeline that was recently released by TMZ, because we haven't got an official timeline from the police. So, you know, we have to rely on timelines from gossip magazines, because that, or, you know, try and pull them together ourselves. That time, we're going to look at Nano. Sheriff Nanos. He always reminds me of comedian. I've used to watch that. How is Robin Williams? You go, Nano. That's what he reminds me of. He reminds me of a lot of things. Naked gun, a clown. Nothing good that he reminds me of, this sheriff. I think he's a little man with a big ego. I think he's got little man complex. It just, everything about him just screams to me that incompetency, ego, you know, just nobody's coming out and speaking in favor of him. Nobody's come on and said, oh no, Sheriff Nanos, he's a brilliant sheriff. Nobody's come on and said that, have they? He's every, you know, he couldn't have a worse person in charge of this case, so he needs to pass it over to the FBI and give that family a break, that poor family. God knows what they're thinking when they're reading all this crap. It's bad enough what we're thinking. It's not our mum, our grandma. You know, it's bad enough for us. We get angry about it. God knows how that family's coping. But anyway, so we're going to talk about that, and we're going to look at his very first press conference. So let's not forget that from day one in this case, Nano announced that this was a major crime. That it was a crime because of the blood on the step and whatever they found inside the house. So they knew it was a crime from the start. It's not a case of initially they thought it was some old lady that had wandered off with dementia. They never thought that. They thought it was a crime from the word go in this case. That's what's annoying, because they never then treated it properly like a crime. The thing about the crime scene tape and everything. Even yesterday, when I was watching JLR's live stream, these guys just walked onto the property and started taking photos. Why is there not crime scene tape up to stop people actually going onto the property? They can't stop people being in the road, though they're trying their best, of course, because they've now made the road one way for easier access. But to be fair, I watched the JLR stream when the sheriff said to him, not Nano, one of the deputies, look, we're just clearing it for an hour, and then while we make it one way and everything, then you can come back. But not on the shouldn't these. JLR nearly spat out his coffee, so he jumped out of his car, started filming these guys. He thought they were law enforcement at first because they just literally walked onto the property, started taking pictures of the house. How were they even allowed to do that? And JLR was saying to them, oh, who are you guys? Like, oh, we're tourists, they said. Tourists. Oh, okay. So this is how crap this police department is, and they're full of criticism for everybody else, for the streamers and for the searchers. The searchers aren't allowed to search. I'm going to read out the statement. So people that are out there trying to help, they don't want their help because they're doing so well on their own, aren't they? They're doing so well without everybody's help. Not. So we're going to look at the statement that the sheriff's department declared about searching. We're going to look at Nanos first press conference. He's not doing any more. The reason he's not doing any more presses is he would have to bring in the FBI if he did a press conference. He can say whatever he wants, but the relationship between them is bad. He won't bring the FBI in to make any statements. He wants all the attention on him. He wants when this case is solved, which I hope it is one day, he wants the kudos for it. But he's the one who's held it up being solved because he needs to pass it over to the FBI. I feel like I'm talking to myself, but I know I'm not the only one who thinks it. So that's what we're going to talk about. What else was there anything else? Yeah, so that's it. What we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about searches. We're going to talk about timeline. We're going to look at Clown Sheriff's first press conference. And what he said in his latest interview. He's not doing press conferences, but he's bloody doing interviews all over the place. Don't know if he had his purple shirt on again. Anyway, so first of all, though, I want to say thank you to everyone. Thank you for watching. Thank you for liking. Thank you for subscribing. Special thank you to my members. Special thank you to those of you who've bought Ko-fis, helping towards my new computer, which I'm getting there. I'm still a little way off, but I'm getting there. Thank you for contributing. Thank you to all of you who've sent a super sticker or PayPal'd me, or I've had all sorts of different ways that people have contributed. Thank you. I want to thank those of you who send me emails suggesting cases, those of you send leave nice comments, who care about all the victims that we talk about. If you contribute to my channel in any positive way, thank you so much. So, hello, lovely lurkers. I hope you're all well this Sunday morning. Well, it's Sunday morning here in Spain, and I have to say it's an absolutely beautiful day here in Spain. It's cold. It's not really warm. Well, it's not cold, but it's not. What is it? It's 13 degrees, but very sunny, lovely blue skies. Very nice day. Hope it's nice where you are, or where it's probably nighttime where a lot of you are as well. Gosh, I've lost my track now. So yeah, my lovely lurkers, hi, and hi to Replay Crew. Thank you for watching. And now let's have a look in the chat. Who's brave enough to be in the chat? Everybody's incensed about this case, isn't it? Everybody's angry. Hi, old hippie. Yeah, a bit later today. I had to take my son to work. So, I'm just keeping an eye on my phone as I go, because in case of any news. In case of any news. So I have to check my phone if I hear it ping off. Okay, so yeah, that's why I'm a little bit later today. Hi, Angel. Hi, Daniel. Hi, Mark. Yeah, not better than FBI, absolute rule. I don't believe that for a minute. And you know what, Ashley, I'm sort of, I've stopped watching her as well, because you know she's the one who said that Tommaso was under suspicion. And then she doubled down on it, and you know she hasn't come back to say anything about it. She hasn't come back and said, "Oh, well, he's not under suspicion now" or anything. So I'm not having, you know, I've not been watching her at all since then, actually. So, and I listen, it's not going to be better than the Quantico lab. I don't care what anyone says. You know, the FBI, they are good. You know, they're probably one of the best investigative bodies across the world, aren't they? So you can't, I'm not decrying that Florida lab. It probably is a really good lab and everything. But the other, I just feel it should have gone to the FBI lab. Let them deal with it. They know what they're doing. They are the people who normally catch people, or the public. You know, in cases like missing persons and things like that, if it's not the FBI that catches them, it's the public. This Nano, he's never caught anyone, has he? Or has he ever found anybody? What has he ever done? You know, and the only way he got to be sheriff was because he manipulated the elections. And then he could only win by less than 500 votes. So it's not exactly a resounding endorsement. And I mean, he's there till 2030. So I don't think they can get rid of him now, unless they have a vote of no confidence in him. I don't know how it works, but and not everybody's criticising him. You know, you have the ex-FBI agents talking on podcasts and things like that. I'd like to, you know, there's not anybody, as far as I know, so I could be proved wrong if anybody's got a link to someone saying how brilliant Sheriff Nanos is, not him, of course, but is anybody out there saying, oh no, he's doing a really good job, leave him alone? I don't think so. Anyway, okay, so where are we going to start? So let's start actually with what the Pima County Sheriff's Department have released on their Twitter or on their X, the statement they've released about searches. So this is the Pima County Sheriff's Department. Private search parties. Volunteer search groups have inquired about being in the area. Per the sheriff, they were asked to please give investigators the space they need to do their work. In other words, piss off. We don't want you helping with the searches. Now, there were on JLR yesterday that he was interviewing one of the ladies, and I think there was a bit of a language problem because although she did speak English, she said, oh, we need a permit to search. But really, I think what it's turned out, what she meant was not a permit, permission, which is what they say here. You need permission, which seems pretty obvious, to go on people's individual land, if you like, to search. Even the police need that, don't even the police can't just rock up at somebody's property. They need a search warrant or permission, don't they? So that seems pretty logical, but you can't stop people searching public areas. You can't stop them doing that. They can do that whenever they like. So then they went on to say, we appreciate their concern. We all want to find Nancy, but this work is best left to professionals. Well, we've left it to professionals for 3 weeks and they haven't turned out to be that professional, have they? So, leave it to professionals. Well, I think if people felt confident that the professionals were acting professionally, they would. The only reason people are wanting to go in there is because they feel like it's not being dealt with properly. PCSD has volunteer opportunities if they wish to get involved with the department. God, you wouldn't want to work for that sheriff, would you? Even voluntarily. God, you'd end up falling out with him. Private property laws apply, and it is up to each individual property owner to grant permission for someone to search their property. Fair enough. So basically, though, what they're saying is don't help us, leave it to the professionals, even though we're doing bugger all. Or it doesn't look like they're out searching much. So I believe they might be searching today, later on today. We'll see. Have they got a hunch, or not a hunch, a tip, or something that's meant that they're going to go back out there and search? I can honestly say, and I hope I'm wrong, but I feel they're going to find Nancy in that immediate vicinity, and it's going to be, has she been here all this time and they've not found her? How could that happen? I don't think she's going to be far away from that property. But as I say, I could be completely wrong. I hope she's found one way or another. It'd be much more preferable that she had been taken to Mexico and she's been looked after in someone's basement. But I just can't believe that. I don't think there's a ransom out there, a genuine ransom out there for her. I just feel that, Nancy is roundabout somewhere. Maybe it is a burglary that went wrong. But also it just feels to me it's more of a targeted attack, maybe to do with Savannah. Maybe this is a revenge attack, kidnapping, whatever, or connected with someone in the family that is not the siblings and spouses. I mean, I'm sure Nancy's got an extended family. You just don't know, do you? We don't know. And then they keep saying that it doesn't look like it was someone who was professional, but they haven't been caught yet. That maybe they weren't professional, but they've done quite well in covering their tracks. The 3 weeks later, the police have still got no clue. So it's like, it's just a joke. It's an absolute joke. So, they're saying they don't look as if they're professional, but 3 weeks later they don't. So, so let's have a look at this interview. We're going to look at the original press conference that Sheriff Nanos did. But I just want to talk about a couple of things that came up in the interview he did just yesterday. So now, he's saying they've got no names, but the FBI were out there with 14 photos going on gunshots. So have they got names or haven't they got names? There's a conflict. Saying this about the DNA, it's mixed and having problems identifying it. I don't care what anyone says. Should have sent it to Quantico. You'll never change my mind on that. Anyway, they didn't, so that's it. So what happens. Also, you've got to be aware that with DNA, it's not inexhaustive. You're testing on DNA, and then there could be none left then for further tests. We don't even know if that DNA is to do with the perpetrator. I mean, the perpetrator was covered in bloody gloves and God knows what, and how did any DNA get there? We don't know what kind of DNA it is. And all they announced originally was that the DNA wasn't connected to anyone close to Nancy, but maybe it is connected to somebody who was in her room for legitimate purpose that they don't even know about. Now he's sort of backtracking on the only thing that people were sort of clinging on to and thinking, oh, well, at least they've got the DNA, at least they've got the DNA. He's just full of crap, this guy. you can't. So how can you believe anything that he says? How can you believe anything that Nano says? You can't. So let's do his press conference first. The timeline as TMZ sees it. As I say, it's not police. We're not even at an official timeline. Not from the sheriff's office, not from the FBI. So, people making up their own timelines, based on information. And I'm not saying the TMZ timeline is wrong or any timeline that anyone comes out with. But, I'd like to see an official timeline. That's what I'd really like to see. But anyway, we haven't got one. So let's have a look at Sheriff Nanos' first press conference, just to remind ourselves of the things he said. That's the one, yeah. And how rubbish he was. No wonder he don't do press conferences anymore. But really, the real reason he doesn't do a press conference is because he doesn't want to give anything to the FBI. He wants to do his little interviews in his office with his purple shirt, with his sheriff's badge behind him, where he's like king of all he surveys. That's my opinion, anyway. And, maybe you don't agree with that. Maybe you think Sheriff Nano is doing a brilliant job. Nano, naked gun, clown sheriff. Maybe you think he is doing a good job. Well, we'll see. Stop it.
I believe it was around noon yesterday. We got a call to the Guthrie.
Right, sorry, hang on. Dog's got to go in the bathroom because the dog next door is barking. Go on. I'm not having that. No. In. No. Yeah, sorry, because the dog next door's barking, so she's reactive, so she's in the bathroom now. I won't be able to hear her. So she's ear splitting as well. Shh! God. I need to go on a desert island to do these bloody lives. Now the computer's whirring. God. Chaos. It's always chaos. Hi, Moonbeam. Right, so for some reason now, has the internet gone off? What the hell is going on? Right, just bear with me a sec while I try and work out why that has happened. Ah, Dios. I'll refresh it. Right, try again, eh?
We'll get started. I believe it was around noon yesterday. We got a call to the Guthrie resident for you. We expended a lot of resources for a missing person that we typically always do. Our search and rescue volunteers, our search and rescue teams, other agencies, Borstar from Border Patrol sent their canines out. They worked tirelessly all day yesterday and all day tonight. I'm sorry, all day yesterday, all last night. To no avail. As I said yesterday, we saw some things at the home that were concerning to us. We believe now, after we process that crime scene, that we do in fact have a crime scene, that we do in fact have a crime. and we're asking the community's help. This community has always stepped up to help us solve some pretty tough crimes. I'm looking for that again. This is a 84-year-old lady who suffers from some physical ailments, has some physical challenges, is in need of medication that if she doesn't have in 24 hours, it could be fatal. So we make a plea to anyone who knows anything about this, who has seen, to contact us, call 911. We don't need another bad tragic ending. We need some help. Our team is the best. I couldn't speak.
But what does it mean we don't need another tragic ending? We need some help. So I don't know what he's referring to there. So we can see that this guy, right from day one, is completely out of his depth. He is out of his depth. He looks uncomfortable. And he didn't know then probably just how this case was going to grab the whole nation and even the world. And this is it. The whole eyes of the world are in now, looking in on this department. And this is what they're seeing.
Any higher. I think you know that. We have done some great work with our partners in the Valley. You know, this community, I have to give a lot of thanks to our law enforcement agencies all across this valley, whether it's the Tucson Police Department or some of the smaller agencies. They've all reached out. They've all offered to assist. The FBI, all of them. We work so close with them, and they are all plugged in. We'll continue to work closely with them. But what I really need is I need this community to step up and start giving us some calls. Let us know if you've seen something.
Well, you've got to be careful what you ask for, haven't you? Because now they're saying don't phone up. Don't phone up just because you've got an opinion or a theory or a whatever. That's what they came out and said the other day. Only phone up if you've got, real concrete sort of evidence and that. And a lot of ex-detectives and ex-FBI people that speak out on these podcasts are saying, no, they shouldn't say that, because when you've got no clue what's happened to someone, although, it is time consuming, isn't it, going through all the tips and everything, because they are getting a lot. But you can't say to people, no, don't phone up with a tip, because that person doesn't know if their tip is important or not. Sometimes it can just be that one little thing. It's not as if they've got a working theory to be going with, so they don't need those tips. They need them because they haven't got a bloody clue what's happened to this poor woman. So that it could be just one phone call from someone with an offhand comment. I don't know, my neighbour's got a backpack like that, or that ski mask has got a ski mask like that. Only takes one offhand comment for it to lead to the solving of the case. So, this is where at the beginning, Nanos, he was asking for help from the community. Now they're saying only phone up if you've got a definite tip. But the thing is, you don't know what's a definite tip. If I'd seen a strange man outside my house, just before something terrible had happened along my road, well, I wouldn't know if he was involved or not. And I think most people think, I don't want to bother the police. Most people, you do get the wackos who will be ringing up just for attention and things. But I think most people, they're less likely to phone the police. They don't want to bother people. Oh, no, it's probably nothing. So, they need all the tips they can get because they haven't got a clue.
We are right now at a time, and I apologize, I Everybody tells me I talk too softly. We are at a time where, in this investigation, we're now moving forward, where we need to depend on technology. You know, our license plate readers, our camera system thing, and we will download all that data we have from the home, from different pieces of technology we've gotten, and we will use that to our advantage. But the reason I bring this up is that, you know, I'm a cop. I hate politics, but I have to remind our political leaders that they need to quit this banter of every time law enforcement leaders come to you for a need, that you give up these ridiculous remarks about how it's going to be misused. AI is a bad, evil word. The cameras are very bad and evil. I'm tired of that. Those tools in the right hands, with the right minds and the right approaches, are extremely valuable to solving crimes just like this. We need those.
Yes, we do. And we also need, so, you know, but then don't forget he's criticizing like the streamers and people like that, or he has done. Thing is, you can't, with modern technology, you can't, and the way modern life is now, you can't just take the things that you agree with and say, oh, they're good, but not the things that you don't agree with. If he doesn't agree with social media or, you know, whatever, but it's part of life now, just like the technology is part of life now. It's part of life, for good or bad. And like everything, some of it will be good and some of it will be bad. But he doesn't like the scrutiny. He's not used to the scrutiny. This man, scrutiny doesn't sit well on him because he's got feet of clay. He'll bend under scrutiny because he is not good at what he does. He's not competent. So scrutiny does not suit him.
We need more staffing. We need a lot of things. But what I really need is I need the community's help with this. So I want to make sure before I take any questions, it is a crime scene. We know that she needs her daily medication. And anybody that sees anything that even looks, hey, maybe that's her, just take a quick picture. Take a video, send it to us. The number is real easy here.
So take a picture. Yeah, take a picture. Yeah, of course. Anyway, God, I've forgotten what else I was going to say then when he was, oh God, what did he say? Oh, she needs a meds. Oh, that's right. He's reading from that. He's not even speaking spontaneously. He doesn't, you know, you don't feel like what he's saying is coming from the heart or from real knowledge of the case, or he looks uncomfortable. He's reading he's checking on the thing. What have I got to say next? He's not prepared, is he? He's not very well prepared in any interview that I've seen him in, never mind the press conferences. And that, again, reflects on his competency. If he wasn't ready for the press conference, he should have, you know, practiced beforehand the bullet points of what he wanted to say. He just looked so uncomfortable and so unprepared.
Locally, it's 911. You can contact our 88 crime and remain anonymous. You can call me, anybody. I am here to take any questions you may have. It will be a little limited. I apologize for that, but we do have a crime that we need to protect its integrity. I have here Sergeant David Stivers from our homicide team. He has been up all night, so bear with us if we are a little bit fuzzy in our answers or responses.
You know, you've been up all night, but so straight away they had the homicide team on it. So they knew it was a homicide, or they feel that it's a homicide right from the beginning because they've involved the homicide team right from the word go, but they didn't keep the crime scene tape up. And even now, random people are just walking onto Nancy's property and taking photos. Tourists That's how they described themselves to JLR when he asked them who they were. He thought it was law enforcement because they just pulled up, got out the car and trampled onto Nancy's property. And JLR went out and said to them, oh, you know, are you law enforcement? They're like, no, we're tourists. Bloody ridiculous. But that's not their fault. That's not even the tourists' fault. They shouldn't be allowed to do that. It's the police's responsibility. It's law enforcement's responsibility to preserve a crime scene. It's not the responsibility of the public to not go on that crime scene. You know, that's just not the way it is. It's their responsibility to preserve it. How were those people allowed to just trample onto Nancy's property? There should be crime scene tape all around her property, including the garden.
But we're both here for any questions you may have. Let's start, please.
Recognizing your limitations, but can you elaborate at all on what makes you believe it's a crime scene as opposed to someone who left home and just couldn't find their way back?
Walk out of there. That we know. There are other things at the scene that indicate there was a she did not leave on her own. We know that.
If you don't have plate readers, is there a vehicle associated with this?
We're when I told you we're now at the phase where we're looking at all the technology, all of that is being evaluated as we speak. Let me say this: we've not just thrown our search and rescue team out there. They're going to be doing some door-to-door with our criminal investigation team. It is not just our homicide unit, all of our criminal investigation detectives. I went out last night and all work in this case. It takes a lot of manpower and a lot of energy. This team of mine worked throughout the night. They continue to work. David's had zero sleep, but he and his team are working as hard as they can.
Is there anybody else associated with her, a caregiver, family member, acquaintance, who is also missing and somebody?
No. The family, all of the family has been very cooperative with us. They're working with us. They're staying in touch with us. They have complete access to anybody in this department. Savannah has been in touch with us as well. Our hearts go out to them. This is their mom. She's just a great lady from what I've heard, and I feel for the family. We just want to find her and bring her back safe.
Sheriff, you mentioned that she didn't just walk out, but is there any additional information that you can give us on what may have alluded to this being a crime scene?
I wish I could. I really do. I know that everybody wants to know. So it would be inappropriate at this time.
Are there signs of breaking and entering or any forced entry, anything like that?
I again don't want to get into that. David, can you see anything here?
At this time, it's still a very active investigation. There were circumstances on scene that we believe are suspicious in nature, I think is the best way to put it. But we can't really get into a whole lot of details with that.
Do you believe that this was targeted or that it just happened to
Get all of that, but we just don't know that.
do they have cameras at the home?
They do, and we're looking through some of them. Trying to figure out my phone. Well, no, I don't think there's an active threat, but I hate to say that because there's a lot of work still to do.
It's the way he's answering. He doesn't have the answers. I understand that. He's not answering in a competent way, is he? No active threat, but apparently in Nancy's neighborhood, you know, people are getting alarm system, you know, anyone who didn't have cameras or alarm systems before, they're getting them now because, you know, they don't know, do they? They don't know, was it targeted against Nancy or was it just Nancy was the unlucky one? You know, it could have been anybody's house. Do you know what I mean? So I expect the neighborhood are feeling extremely vulnerable, especially because we've seen loads of CCTV now from different places of random people trying to get into houses or whatever. So I think the fact that it's so dark there, it sort of tells us two things, you know. One, yeah, it's perfect. The darkness of that area is perfect cover for, you know, burglaries and things like that, I suppose. But also, to me, it says that whoever did it, they knew that area because all the podcasters have said the same thing, that once it goes dark, if you didn't know that area, there's not a cat in hell's chance that you would have found that house by accident. You know, it's like you have to know the area because you can't see anything. So if you were a stranger to that area, how would you know which house to go to, or even know anything about that neighborhood, or unless you had been staking it out for a while beforehand? You know, these are all things that conspire that make it very mysterious. So, you know, to me, right, this is just what I've seen other sheriffs say and other police forces in cases similar to this, where it's mysterious, is the answer to that question would be, we don't think, like I said, we don't think there's any active threat, but we'd advise people to be extra vigilant, make sure your windows are locked, make sure your doors are locked. We're going to have a higher police presence in the area just until we establish the facts. These are the things that you should be saying as the sheriff to try and put people's mind at rest, that as long as there is a mystery, at least there'll be a higher police presence and giving people advice on what they should do. And if you want a deputy to call round to give you advice on how to protect your property, they used to do that in the UK. I remember in Manchester, you could phone the police would send someone round to your house and advise you, you know, with their experience of break-ins and things, go around your house and advise you what doors you needed, especially to be secured, what to do with your windows, you know, to give you advice, free advice. You know, you don't need, and then you get in a company to do whatever it is. There's so many other things he could have said that to at least make people feel more reassured.
We don't have any indication that that the public is in danger.
And what does
On our search and rescue mission, and we've sent them home to rest. They were out all night. Look, we put all our aircraft, our helicopters, heat sensors, infrared, everything we've had, we've thrown at this. They're going to step aside. We'll call them out again, and if we need to do more searching. Right now, we don't see this as.
Is that we don't see it so much as a search mission, it's a crime scene. What does that mean? So it's not a search mission, it's a crime scene. It's sort of both, isn't it? So odd thing, he says some odd things.
David probably can better answer it than I, but that is our search patterns, I believe. Is that?
Yes.
Yeah.
So with all the assets that we deployed yesterday with the search and rescue teams, the map that's on the screen is basically tracks that were followed. Those are all the colored are all ground different teams and different assets that were used on the ground to include the canine volunteers and our own search and rescue team. The search vehicles are going to be representative, if not necessarily perfect, of our air circulation with our cameras. So difficult to see where the house is. This house is basically pretty close to center in that, and then all of the searching that went on throughout the day with those folks out there on the ground.
What this really helps with is our search teams, when they come back and reassess, maybe they've missed an area, we can look at it right again. Our rescue is top notch every single day. If it's not a lost person, it's a hiker, it's somebody who's wandered away from a care home, whatever it may be. I want to stress to you, right, and it is really important, Miss Guthrie, Nancy Guthrie, is of great sound mind. A dementia-related, her physical limits are based on just age and old, and so it's more physical, but clearly she is as sharp as a tack.
Does that present any practical?
We're at that as we speak.
If you have it, or
Can you give us more of that? Because you said
There was it at 9:45 in the evening. Her children left her off. At some time earlier that morning, said, "Hey, your mom's not here." The house. They spent some time looking for her themselves before they called us. So I'm guessing maybe they got there around 11. So they did some searching and
it would have been taken from the home.
there's a lot of things working there, and I just can't say that right now.
Has Savannah Guthrie,
We've spoken to her with that. She has a security team that's been in touch with us throughout the night, but we're not going to dismiss any angles for sure. But right now, immediately, we don't know of anything like that.
is she in town or on the way here?
She's here.
Can you give us any more, what would somebody be looking for? Because that when I was out in the neighborhood, the neighbors are obviously incredibly concerned. But is there anything, a tip? I mean, one neighbor stopped me and he didn't know if he should call you or not.
Oh my goodness.
But so what should somebody be looking?
Well, first of all, I'd ask them, go through their cameras, go through their ring cameras, whatever. Maybe it's somebody walking by. Maybe it's a vehicle driving by at that time of day. But go through all your cameras in that neighborhood and tell us if you see something. Maybe somebody already, we know this happens, right? Oh, I saw something suspicious, but I didn't think it was falling in, so I didn't get it. Well, now it's just in anything you heard. Maybe the neighbor telling you, "Oh, I saw this." Call us. Don't tell them to call. Tell the neighbor, but you call us. We'll put it together. We'll get it. Charles will handle that.
Yeah.
Did she live alone?
So he was asking.
I believe, yes, she did.
That was at the time when he was asking for tips. Now he's asking people not to ring in anything, but now he's not saying that, of course. Right, okay. I think we've got this sort of, I don't know whether to watch this through to the end because, yeah, there's not long to go, to be honest, because I do think it's important to see what he was saying at the beginning. And now I know he wouldn't, I'll be fair to him, he probably was up all night. They didn't know much at that time, but I think it's important to remember what he said at the beginning versus what he's saying now.
Yeah.
Were there any caregivers who are normally associated with her?
Well, she has house staff that comes by, takes care of the yard, whatever, in her house and that. But those people we'll be talking with that have talked to some of them already.
But nobody who's like a live-in or?
Nobody actually lives with her, no. Like I say, she's a great sound mind challenge for her to get as a family. she couldn't walk 50 yards by herself. So
Yeah. I wonder if, like, they know that for a fact because maybe she needed a walking stick to walk and the walking stick was left behind. So he said she couldn't walk 50 yards on her own or without help. But she obviously could walk a little bit, you know, around her garden, or she could walk to the Uber or walk from a car into it, but probably with a walking stick maybe, or even a Zimmer frame. And if that had been left behind, they knew that she hadn't left that house walking under her own volition because she didn't take her walking aids with her.
What else? Somebody asked about the FBI.
I'm sorry.
Somebody asked about the FBI.
We know that they have certain capabilities and certain resources, just as we have certain capabilities and resources. So yes, we'll work with them, and they offered assistance to us. We accept that assistance. I called us to handle a shooting that involved Border Patrol. You need to know that. That's just day-to-day routine work for law enforcement in Pima County in Tucson. We work very closely with our partners.
With the amount of time that's gone by, how wide do you cast in the net? Statewide, national?
Well, yes, national for sure. I'm hoping the national media's picked up on this. We've gotten a lot of reports, but statewide is things we use.
I wonder if he still feels like that, saying I hope it gets picked up on, but maybe it's been picked up on more than he wanted now, because of course it's nationwide, even international now. And there was an Amber Alert yesterday, wasn't there? Even while JLR was on stream, an Amber Alert came through on everybody's phone, so they do work. A little girl that's disappeared, bless her. So yeah, Amber Alerts. I mean, we do have to remember, this is why as well, I think he should just push it over to the FBI, because they've got much more manpower available, because they've got other crime going on. Crime doesn't take a holiday because you're dealing with a high profile case and under so much pressure to get results. The rest of crime doesn't go away, so they're trying to deal with everything they normally deal with and this. And so it's just logical to give it to the FBI as far as I can see.
Every tool we have, we will use.
Very good.
You guys are too easy. Thank you so much. I apologize for being late. I apologize for my political rhetoric of the Board of Supervisors or the City Council. I just get so frustrated and we just can't do this job without their support. We don't need political statements from the dais and mumbo jumbo. We need them to listen to their law enforcement leaders and really pay attention to the fact that we understand that there's a great potential for abuses in today's world with the technology that's available to us. But you have to, at some point in time, have some faith and trust in your leadership in the law enforcement community to know and understand that we too were elected here to provide a service to our community. I can't think of a community in this planet that wouldn't tell you, number one is public safety.
Right. Sorry, it's whirring. I think we'll stop there. So that was Nano in his very first press conference. Now, he has done one more since then. I'm not going to subject you to that. Though I will look at that in another video if this case lingers on again. Because I do think it's important to see what you said in the beginning. And bear in mind, it's been over 2 weeks now before he's done a press conference. He's just been doing these very intimate, cozy media interviews with individual media outlets where he seems to have said conflicting things in different ones, got annoyed with them for even challenging him about anything. You know, he's a funny little man, and I just don't have any confidence in him whatsoever. So what I think we'll look at now is we're going to look at the timeline. So as I say, in the absence of a proper timeline, if you like, because we haven't had an official timeline, have we? TMZ, the gossip magazine, that where is it gone? Hang on. They released the timeline, which, you know, I'm not criticizing them, you know, good for them. They've released a timeline based on the information given by the sheriff, etc. But, you know, we have, in the absence of an official timeline, we're going to go through this and see what we think of it. And, you know, maybe you'll find it useful. Personally, that the timelines always, in my opinion, in every case, people always want a timeline, but they're often conflicting, aren't they? I don't think there's many cases that I've covered where you've got a definitive timeline that this is exactly what happened, unless it comes from law enforcement, you know. So timelines are always a little bit fluid and they change, don't they? Anyway, here we go. We've got the Nancy Guthrie kidnapping timeline according to TMZ, and that's what I'm going to read out to you. You let me know what you think as we go along. So they published this yesterday. Oh, there's Nancy, bless. When I was taking my son to work this morning and coming back, I just was thinking about her all the time and praying for not only her, all the missing cases that we're covering, you know, to find Gus Lamont, to find Jack and Lily, to find Samantha Murphy's remains. Are we looking now? Is it a question of looking for Nancy's remains rather than you just cannot see that Nancy could be alive now? But of course, it's still possible, isn't it? But anyway, I just hope one way or another we get answers. So here's Nancy. So it all started on Saturday, January the 31st, 2026. Nancy left in an Uber at 5:32 p.m. to have dinner at her daughter Annie's house in Tucson, Arizona. It's literally just up the road, isn't it? Annie's house. I've seen. I don't know if you've watched any live streaming from there, but I've seen JLR drive from Nancy's house to Annie's. It's like 5 minutes, isn't it? So it's strange. Why an Uber? That is something that people have asked. But we know because she came in an Uber or went in an Uber, the Uber driver has been interviewed and cleared, apparently, according to Nano. I'm not going to play the video. I'm going to read it out. So in fact, I'm going to do a time. I keep saying I will whenever, if I ever have the time, to do a timeline, you know, to write it out in a more consecutive way. But anyway, so 5:32 p.m. Saturday, January 31st. She left in an Uber to have dinner at her daughter Annie's house up the road. And at 9:48, her son-in-law and his husband, Tommaso Cioni, who has had so much shade thrown at him, hasn't he, dropped her back off at her home. Now, Tommaso is a school teacher in the area. All the parents of his children, the children he teaches, are very supportive of him. So apparently he reportedly waited 2 minutes for Nancy to get safely inside and then drove away. And she seemed to go in through the garage door. There's a lot of talk about the garage door opening and closing. So maybe that was common for her to go in through the garage door. I don't know. I mean, what do you think about that? Why was it the garage door? Anyway, on Sunday, February the 1st, a doorbell camera at Nancy's home was mysteriously disconnected at 1:47 a.m. Even more distressing, Nancy's pacemaker app was disconnected from her phone by 2:28 a.m. How was it disconnected from a phone? Was it because she went out of its... how did it disconnect? Did somebody manually disconnect the pacemaker app? Well, that would have to be somebody who knew she had a pacemaker that was connected to an app. Or was it just that Nancy was taken too far away from the phone, so it disconnected because it couldn't reach the pacemaker? Anybody know anything about pacemakers and how they work? Is that what would happen if Nancy was taken too far away from the phone, that the app couldn't make the connection? Yeah, that's what I'm wondering, Moonbeam. Is that how it disconnected? Or did somebody actually disconnect it? We don't know. We don't know. All we do know is it was disconnected, or it did disconnect, let's say, by 2:28. So the doorbell camera disconnected at 1:47 and the app disconnected from her phone by 2:28. And is this why they're saying that they think the perpetrator was in the house for 40 minutes, 40 odd minutes? Because that is 20. No, that's not 40 odd minutes, is it? Yeah, because they're definitely saying they think the perpetrator was in the house for 40 minutes, just over 40 minutes. Now, so last seen evening of January the 31st, 2026 at her residence near East Skyline Drive and North Campbell Avenue. Unknown what clothing she may be wearing. Now, it would be unknown because you presume she would have gone home, changed out of whatever clothing she wore to go to visit Annie and Tommaso and put on her nightie or whatever by that time. But we don't know. We don't even know the clothes she was wearing the night before. Another thing that I thought, I wonder if there's any photos from that night, because on Nancy's Facebook, there's quite often photos of her with the family, you know, having dinner, having a drink or whatever. Do you think they took any photos? Because that's the sort of thing, like I'm thinking of my family, what you quite often do, because if it's not all the family getting together, so like when it was my sister's birthday not long ago, so then my niece, I couldn't go because I'm here in Spain, but my niece sent me photos, you know, from the birthday sort of meal, and, you know, is that night when Nancy went round to Annie and Tomato's, are they the sort of family that might take a picture, oh look, Mum's here with us tonight, and send it to Savannah or to Cameron, you know, say, oh look, we're all having a meal and a games night. Not necessarily put it on Facebook, but, you know, send it to individual members of the family. Look, Mum's fine. We're all having a laugh, and we've raised a glass to you. We're thinking of you. Wish you could be here. So it's not until 11:56 a.m. that relatives discovered Nancy was missing after getting a call from churchgoers at 11 a.m. saying Nancy never made it for service. Now, let's not forget, supposedly, again, this is where we could really do with a proper timeline and a proper thing from the police. Supposedly, Nancy was supposed to go round to a friend's house. She went every Sunday morning. She had not attended church in person since COVID. She'd been attending virtually with other friends. So she was supposed to go around to her friend's house. She didn't turn up at her friend's house. Her friend got concerned. They would then normally attend virtually a service from a church in New York, not a local church. I think it was Savannah's church. They're all, the whole family are quite sort of religious, aren't they? Quite, their faith is important to them. So that's what happened. She didn't turn up at a friend's house to attend this virtual service. And that's when they phoned the family. I think they phoned Annie, I presume, because Annie's the local member of the family. Again, we don't know for sure. And that's when relatives discovered Nancy was missing after getting a call from churchgoers at 11 a.m. saying Nancy didn't make it for the service, and apparently she never missed. Then at 12:03 p.m., police received a 911 call from Nancy's family. We haven't heard the 911 call. And then at 8:17 a.m., Monday, oh, this is Monday, the following day, that's that press conference we just watched. Pima County Sheriff Chris Nanos calls Nancy's disappearance part of a crime. So really instantly, and it's obviously to do with that blood. There was the blood on the step, and maybe there was blood inside the house and various other things. They immediately said it was a crime, didn't they? Immediately. Then Tuesday, February the 3rd, at 6:13 a.m., Sheriff Nanos confirms that Nancy was in bed when she was abducted. Wonder how they know that for sure. Yeah, I remember that. They said, he literally said she was ripped from her bed in the middle of the night. I think that was the exact words he used, ripped from her bed. So poor Nancy, they seem sure. Why, I don't know. Maybe the state of the bed, you know, the way it looked. You know, that she'd been to bed and the covers were pulled back and she was plucked out of her own bed. Gosh, oh, how terrible, how terrible. At 84 years old, you can't just go to bed and be safe in your own home. Makes me very angry. Then the first ransom note was sent to TMZ. So this was a couple of days after Nancy first disappeared. This is, you know, the ransom notes do seem like a bit of misleading, don't they? And also it was sent to TMZ and 2 local Tucson stations at 1:12 p.m. The letter demands $4 million in Bitcoin by Thursday, February the 5th. And then another 6 million by Monday if the first deadline isn't met. So it gave a couple of days to meet the first deadline, and then if that deadline wasn't met, they were given another couple of days. But then the 4 million went up to $6 million in Bitcoin. And at 2:52 p.m., President Trump says he will give federal resources towards Nancy's kidnapping investigation. And he did come out and say that, to be fair, which was good because Nancy was not a supporter of Donald Trump, that's for sure. Then on Wednesday, February the 4th, in a Today segment that airs at 8:03, Sheriff Nanos says they believe Nancy is still alive. Then we had the first, we went through, in yesterday's video, we went through all the different appeals, didn't we? How they changed the different appeals by the family. It started off with this was the very first message to the captors when they were asking for proof of life. They were very upset. This was I'm not going to play the video. We've seen it a few times. That was the first one, and that video was really directed towards the kidnappers, if there were, you know, supposing there were kidnappers. Talk to her. She's a vibrant person. She's there. Talk to her, and you'll find out. You know, we're so upset. Look after our mother. That kind of thing. So yeah, at 6 p.m., Nancy's children post a video online pleading for their mother to come home, and they asked for proof of life. Oh, that's right, they were asking for proof of life. That's never been provided, by the way, by any of these kidnap letters, ransom notes. No proof of life has been provided at any time. So Thursday, February the 5th, during a press conference, authorities confirmed those 2 ransom deadlines, February the 5th and February the 9th. On Friday, February the 6th, KOLD TV Tucson receives a second ransom letter at 5:30 p.m. No deadline. But KOLD reports the new note contains something the senders seem to think will prove to investigators they're the same people who sent the first notes. Now, don't forget, a lot of hostage experts have said this is very unusual in kidnapping situations. One, for people to wait 2 days before sending a ransom note. Also, it's very unusual to send ransom notes to media rather than to law enforcement or the family of the victims. You know, it's very unusual. Normally, kidnappers like to stay under the radar, not, you know, over the radar, like by sending their ransom note to TMZ. I'm sure the FBI are looking into these notes, but you can't help but feel they're not genuine. What do you think? Do you think the ransom notes are genuine? Do you think the people who sent the ransom notes know anything at all? Or do you think they're just people either trying to earn a bit of money or a lot of money, or, you know, just being sadistic really and watching this family suffer? Saturday, February the 7th, Nancy's family uploaded a new video at 4:30 p.m. telling her abductors they will pay the ransom. Monday, February the 9th. Now, this is where it changed. You know, we had 2 videos. They haven't put on their Cameron's appeal, have they? Because Savannah's brother Cameron, he did a short appeal just himself, didn't he? In between these 2, there was a video from Cameron. They haven't put that on there. So straight away, the timelines, there's something wrong with it. Timelines are a nightmare. Then it all changed. So we went from having these family appeals to individual appeals. Only Savannah speaking. And Savannah made this very sort of, I think they were strange appeals. Her way of speaking was strange in all of them, to be honest. Yeah, and we had the first one on 1:43 p.m. on the Monday, February the 9th. And Savannah said she believed Nancy is still alive and she desperately asked the public for help locating Nancy. So this is after the deadlines had passed. And Savannah, instead of appealing to the kidnapper or appealing to her mum either, you know, there's no direct message to her mum. She is in this video appealing to the public for their help. So you feel like there was a shift there, don't you? Then on Tuesday, February the 10th, we will have a look at this video, I think, see the security footage. This guy with the balaclava, you know, as I say, he's completely togged up. How could he have left DNA at the scene? You've got to wonder, you know, what DNA would he have left at the scene? And with this full rucksack, that's the other surprise. You know, who takes a full rucksack to go and burgle a house? It made you think, did he have stuff in there for carrying Nancy away? Let's have a look at this. We will have a look at this video. A very terrifying video. Look, they've slowed it. Look, he knows the security camera is there. He knows, this person knows this property, knows the security camera is there, in my opinion. You know, he went straight for it. But, you know, even though he's gone there with that full rucksack where he looks sort of prepared, he's not prepared enough. He has to go into the garden to get plants. You know, why did he not take anything with him to disable the security camera? You know, if he's so prepared that he's got a rucksack with him with God knows what in it, why then was this man, why was he not prepared with something to do the, anyway, just wonder. So why is it not going? Let me just stop that. So I'm trying to scroll down, it won't scroll down. Why is it not scrolling down? Let's refresh it. So then at 11 a.m., the FBI released the first images and videos of Nancy's alleged kidnapper, and the images were captured on a Nest home security camera. And then a big break in the case seems to come at 7:30 p.m. when a subject is detained and their home is searched. That was that crazy Friday, wasn't it, when everything was going on, the SWAT teams. And this poor guy was was detained, Carlos. And then, of course, it turned out he had nothing to do with it. But we've never really had a proper... We've not had a news conference about that, have we? So it turns out to be a dead end at 11:58 p.m. when the subject, Carlos Palazuelos, is released after law enforcement determines he has no connection to the case. Palazuelos tells reporters outside his home he has no idea who Nancy is and that authorities damaged his door and garage. Then Wednesday, 11th of February, a new note. I mean, do you know one thing you can say about this case? It's not being solved, but it's it's full to the brim with black gloves and ransom notes. It's like, bloody hell, how many black gloves were lying around in Tucson? It's like every 5 minutes somebody was finding a black glove. Some of which were left by searchers, apparently. Just ridiculous. And then, of course, Nancy's top was seen where it had been used to try and follow a scent, and it had just been discarded in the garden. Just the Keystone Cops, these people. So a new note demanding 1 Bitcoin for info on Nancy's case is sent to TMZ just before 6 a.m. And the sender claims they've been unsuccessful in reaching Nancy's kids Cameron and Annie by email and text. On Thursday, February the 12th, just after 9 a.m., TMZ receives a second email from the same person as the day before, and they complain are not being taken seriously. I think TMZ have been sending these to themselves. Friday, February the 13th, another huge twist at 8:15. Tucson police SWAT descend on a home 2 miles away from Nancy's house. 3 people are detained and 1 is brought in for questioning. But that comes to nothing. And then at 11 p.m., a car at a Culver's restaurant in Tucson is seized and towed for investigation. And then on Saturday, February the 14th, Valentine's Day, the Tucson home raid suspect is brought in for questioning at 9 a.m. and released with no charges. Then on Sunday, February the 15th at 7:15, Tucson police confirm they are using advanced Bluetooth detection technology in an effort to find Nancy's pacemaker. The investigation takes a major forensic turn at 12:15 p.m. when the FBI says a glove recovered in the case appears to visually match the gloves worn by the subject captured on the security camera footage released from Nancy's front door camera. DNA found inside the glove is sent for analysis. Then we had this next, and Savannah just looks so poorly, so drained, so, the torture she's going through is etched on her face in this video, I think. Savannah uploaded a new video at 6:30 p.m, begging her mum's kidnapper to bring her home and urging whoever took her that it's never too late to do the right thing. And a report published at 6:49 p.m. says investigators believe Nancy's abduction may have been a botched robbery attempt Now, don't forget, they stood back from that after Sheriff Nanos, Clown Sheriff Nanos, said he doesn't know where that came from. That is not what they're, so we can ignore that comment, to be honest. Then TMZ was sent a fourth email from the man claiming to know who kidnapped Nancy and where she is. The letter was received at 9:36, and it says in part, I know what I saw 5 days ago south of the border, and I was told to shut up, so I know who he is, and that was definitely Nancy with them. I think that's where all these rumours started about Nancy going to Mexico. Monday, February the 16th, a landscaper shows up at Nancy's house at 9:15. You can always tell what contemptuous pieces of shit they are when they use her surname and not her first name. Grabbing tools from the back of his car and getting to work. An hour later, President Trump calls for Nancy's abductors to receive the death penalty when they're caught, if she's dead. That was the most irresponsible comment. I mean, he makes a lot of irresponsible comments, President Trump, but that was perhaps one of the worst. So he's already said that if Nancy's dead, these people are going to face the death penalty before they're even caught. They're not going to give themselves up, are they? They're not going to say, oh, yeah, Nancy died, because now they know they're going to get the death penalty. He should never have said that. And also, even, if people know who this person is, say the mum of this person knows who it is. Maybe she was thinking of turning him in because she was thinking of Nancy. She's not going to turn him in now, is she? Knowing that her son's going to get the death penalty. So it's just so irresponsible to say that before he's been caught. Once he's been caught, say what you like, give him the death penalty, whatever. But this case is not resolved. It's trying to be resolved, and announcing that that person who's out there is going to get the death penalty will not encourage them to give themselves up or give any information up. Then Pima County officials dispute that new report alleging the kidnapping was actually a botched robbery at 11:09. And the Guthrie family can breathe a sigh of relief at 2 p.m. when they're all cleared of wrongdoing in the case. I don't know. I think they'll breathe a sigh of relief when they know what's happened to Nancy. At 7:18 p.m., a Milwaukee, Wisconsin attorney offered $100,000 reward for the safe return of Nancy, adding to the $100,000 the FBI is already offering. And there's another $2,500 from somewhere else. So there's currently $2,250,000 reward for anyone who gives information leading to the solving of this case. And that's how you think, well, this case is going nowhere because nobody has stepped forward, even with that massive reward. And they're certainly not going to do, they're probably scared. I don't know. Maybe they're scared, or maybe nobody does know, apart from the perpetrators. Tuesday, February 17th, the sheriffs test the gloves found near Nancy's house for DNA. The sheriff's office announces at 11:47 no DNA matches were found between the glove and Nancy's house. And later in the day, the FBI confirms the glove is undergoing genealogy testing. And Savannah Guthrie's husband, Michael Feldman, lands in Tucson at 1:41. Wednesday, February the 18th, another ransom letter for TMZ at 3:54, asking for a dollar amount similar to the $6 million ransom demand. This time, I think they asked for crypto instead of Bitcoin. TMZ revealed the ransom letter to the public at 11 a.m. Despite the day before, TMZ had said they weren't going to say if they got any more ransom notes, but of course, they want their publicity, so they did. At 6 a.m., the FBI confirms they've reached out to Mexican federal law enforcement authorities to aid in the search for Nancy, and investigators confirm at 4:30 p.m. that the recent SWAT raids have turned up no link to Nancy or her abductors. They also announced that anybody, because apparently people have been camping outside the sheriff's office looking for any SWAT raids going out. Anyway, as well, they can tell from scanners and things if a SWAT raid is going out. And the sheriff's office announced that anybody going out following a SWAT raid would be arrested. So Thursday, February the 19th, the Pima County Sheriff's Office say at 4:20 the kidnapper can still be identified from DNA found at Nancy's house, and they confirm our story that the Guthrie case will not be featured on Desert Law, a reality TV show about the department. Oh, so that was the other thing. I don't think I've even mentioned that yet. So there's a TV show come out, and the Pima County Sheriff's Department is involved in it. But the reason I didn't mention it, because I didn't think it was really anything to do with this case, because this TV show was shot last year. It's only just coming out now on screens. Might be interesting to watch to give you an insight into the way the Pima County Sheriff's Office operates. But there's no mention of the Guthrie case in it because it was actually filmed a year ago. So it's got no relevance to Nancy's case. Sheriff Nanos does not appear in it at all, apparently. So the value of it, as far as this case is concerned, apart from maybe giving you a bit of an idea of how the sheriff's office works, is limited. And it says here it's a reality TV show about the department. It's not only about their department, it's Desert Law. So it's other sheriff's departments out there in the desert. It's not only about the Pima County Sheriff's Office. So on Friday, February the 20th, so that was last Friday, a couple of days ago, at 1:31 p.m., the Pima Sheriff's Office announces they've received more than 55,000 calls since February the 1st, 25,000 more than they received in the same time span last year. So there you go. That was it up to Friday. So what's happened since Friday? Not much really. They're going to do some more searches. Oh, I missed that. Where's that bit about the Madres Buscadores? Yeah, at 12:43 p.m. on Thursday, a Mexican activist group, Madres Buscadoras de Sonora, which is Spanish for the Searching Mothers of Sonora, announced that they are looking for Nancy. You know, they're calling her Guthrie. Oh, they're so rude. So rude. It just shows they don't think of Nancy as a person. This is just a case. Just a case. Just a case that they're dealing with, that they're getting attention for. If they thought of her as a person, they would never refer to her with her surname. They would, in my opinion. So basically, this is where we are. This is where we are. Now, there are searches, I think, going to happen later. Is that because of new information? Before I come off here now, I'm going to just check, see if the... I'm checking constantly, every day, any updates, you know, just something. I know there's an investigation going on and they're limited to what they can tell us. But as I say, in the absence of official information, people make things up. What's this? So Nancy Guthrie missing case receives cryptic. Oh, so 31 minutes ago. Let's have a look at that. Oh my God. So this is the Irish Star. Oh, Nancy Guthrie missing case receives cryptic update as police confirm different element. So this is about, well, let's have a look at this. So this is only, this is the latest sort of news, if you like, that's coming up. Owner discovered a pair of blood-stained black gloves and a rock, which appeared with what appeared to be blood in the desert near the home of Nancy Guthrie, the missing mother of Today Show host Savannah. What's the new news? So the most recent when gloves were found bearing what looked like a blood mark in the desert, approximately 1 mile from her residence. This follows revelations from a former FBI agent who disclosed the concealed code word that Savannah embedded in her statement to the abductors. So what was that then? What was the code word? What was the code word then? I mean, it did sound when Savannah giving her update. Sorry, my page keeps going unresponsive. Oh, can you still hear me? Okay, I think I'm back now. Am I back? That's my dog trying to get out of the bathroom. Am I back now? I think I'm back. Just let me know, someone, if I'm back. Right, let's try and find that. I don't know why it just stopped responding. So hopefully next week I'll be able to get this sorted. Right, so the latest thing is in the news. Barricades put up near Nancy's home. Nancy, let's have a look at this. What's this? know, the thing is, they put these things up on the news because they want you to read the item, but when it comes to it, there's nothing. Right, there's not really any news, no. So it's just trying to lead me. It's just when I just looked at the latest news, it's trying to clickbait me into reading. There's actually nothing. So, okay, so that's it really. So there's your timeline. That's Clown Sheriff Nanos, what he had to say in the beginning. The DNA is going to be a disappointment in the end. It seems like they've got nothing. From what we can see, still no press conference, no suspects, no nothing, nada. This poor woman, Nancy, she's still lost somewhere. Where is she? Is she even alive? Oh yeah, searchers don't search, don't interfere with the professionals. They're so professional, they're getting absolutely nowhere with this case. But you know what? I hope I'm wrong. I hope that later today, maybe there'll be a big break, a big press conference. Clown Sheriff Nanos will be there all excited that he's cracked the case. Let's hope for that. I pray all the time. This poor woman, just what she went through and what is she still going through, and her family. Just terrible. Poor Nancy. Don't want to get to 84 years of age. 84 years on this planet dealing with all the things that life throws at you, all the problems, and coming through them, and you're still standing. And then you're taken from your bed in the middle of the night by some arsehole, some horrible person. Whoever that person is that's took Nancy, you are a twonk. I'll tell you what, you could even be watching this because you know these perpetrators, they do watch YouTube channels if they're clicking through for any information. You could be watching this, and let me tell you, if you're watching this, you are a horrible person. Tell you what, you need to think of your soul, because what's going to happen to you in the afterlife, whether Nancy's dead or alive, just what you've done to an 84-year-old woman by taking her out of her bed in the middle of the night and terrifying her, is disgusting. You should be ashamed of yourself, and your mother will be ashamed of you. You know what? Your mother did not bring you up to do this sort of thing. You know, you're a piece of shit, basically. Right, I'm getting angry now, so I think I need to go. So, yes, do the right thing. As Savannah said, do the right thing. It's never too late to do the right thing. Put this poor family out their misery and let them know what's happened to their mum, their grandma. Disgusting what you've done. Your mother would be ashamed of you. Your mother would be ashamed of you. Disgusting. Anyway, okay. So as for the rest of you, God, I hope they are watching. I hope they are watching. For the rest of you, y si hablas español y si no hablas inglés, eres un cabrón, y tu madre das vergüenza a tu madre. Malo. Hay que pensar en tu alma, en la próxima vida. Cabrón. Gosh, YouTube might pull me up for that language. But anyway, yeah, to the rest of you, I've got that out of my system now. I'll see you really soon in the next video. Let's hope that by the time I do the next video, we'll have some more positive news to report about this case. Take care, and until I see you again, may your God go with you. Adios.